And here we are, the third out of the 3 reflectory videos for 2025. And the third and last one is indeed about my celibacy journey. Perhaps the thing that partly defined this yearly project of mine. A project of building myself into a better being, into a healthier being in body and in mindset. I left this one to last because I feel like there's most to speak about. And it's the one I want to take most seriously. But before I get into it, I want to put some clarity towards the word celibacy. I saw celibacy as more of a modern take to it, I guess, where celibacy journey is unique to an individual and they take it how they seem to think they need it. But more accurately, probably my journey reflects the word abstinence more than celibacy. But I'm just making a disclaimer now, just in case if I will be using one word or another. But nonetheless, it's a journey. I'll dive into the reasonings for why I chose to experience this journey. And it's mostly due to my internal problems and addictions with the aspect of lust. Growing up, I was, of course, quite into porn. I didn't know the problems it would create, and I would keep using it, I would keep watching it, even throughout both of my relationships. And it's only much later in my life that I got a clarity that I, in fact, was addicted to porn. And when I made the steps to remove porn from my life, of course it was a long journey throughout the years and there was their own struggles, but once I was able to finally just remove it, that was a bit more than a year ago, I understood that the problem is much deeper. Once I removed porn from my life, I understood that the addiction no longer was attached to porn itself, but it was even more internal, and it was the aspect of addiction towards lust, towards pleasure, towards satisfaction of self. Yes. And that's why I knew I needed this journey. That's why I knew that if I don't fix this up, I would just keep on heading the wrong path. I knew that now is the time for me to do it. My frontal lobe is developing. I'm 25, and such decisions need to be made now, so that it will better me in the future, and so that I'm able to create a healthy version of myself. So there's 2 parts of my journey within this year. I consider them the first half and the second half. The first 6 months of the year was for how I made my celibacy journey personal to me, and how I wish to sort the benefits from it. And well, in the first 6 months, I was willingly open to still seeing women, even if I wasn't having sex. So I removed all these sexual intercourse from my interactions. Within those 6 months, I was still meeting women, I was still dating a bit, but of course on a less sexual aspect of it was present, and more of just focusing on the connectivity of the person, focusing on the intimacy, and just understanding for myself how to be able to upkeep the connection of attraction without the need to resort to the sexual aspect of that connection. What this period, like, I would state that this half of my celibacy journey was more crucial than the second, because within this half is when I delved into understanding what I actually desire from a connection with a person. I understood the value in that connection. I understood the value in lesser aspects of attraction. Rather than always chasing the sexual, I understood the beauty in, I had the rebirth in understanding of beauty in making out, in kissing, in touch. Even though physical touch was one of my high love languages, like, I strengthened it even more and put more just aspects of joy into it. And by the end of these 6 months, I understood one of the crucial lessons that I had to learn within this period is how to be upfront with the people I'm seeing, how to be able to talk about the things that I'm experiencing and going through, how to be able to clearly state the position I am in and the position I want me and the other individual to coexist in. I was bad at that, genuinely bad. And that's why I said by the end of the 6 months, I realized that's the lesson I had to learn. Surprisingly, I was terrible at telling women that I am celibate. I just wouldn't allow it to get to the sexual part, but I was not directly exclaiming that that was the case. And that's to do with another problem of me being very bad at telling people about myself and just finding the right moment to say such things, and just simply being upfront with my life and with my mind state and what I'm feeling and thinking. So that within this 6 months, I have definitely improved my conception of going out with a woman, of seeing a woman, of how I wanted to put more intention into intimacy rather than the sexual aspect of a relation. Intimacy grew drastically in importance for me. And understanding what kind of intimacy and how to display it, that's another aspect. And that's still something I am trying to understand. For me, I heavily started putting more focus on the lesser. And I realized that I enjoy when a relation has steps to it, stages, levels. A level of just mental attraction, then a step towards physical comfort. By physical, of just sharing the touch, of just being in each other's presence comfortably. And then the next step of allowing us to kiss and make out, and then putting just intention into like this action within that period and allowing it to prosper into something greater, and then proceed forward. Give it time and space, and that way it will just nurture into something way more pleasurable. I am a patient person. I have no need to rush. So let's not rush it. Let's keep it chill. Let's keep it steady and enjoyable. I would say an aspect that I found to be affected within my celibacy journey for the better is the strengthening of my friendships. Quite a good amount of women that I met from dating apps and online, I maintained a friendship basis and never allowed it to reach past the point of intimacy, and allowed it to stay platonic, which ended up allowing a creation of several new friendships within this year. I have so many friends, and they're so lovely, and they're amazing, and I know that that connection is not ruined because I have realized that once a interaction with a person crosses the barrier of even kissing, the possibility of you losing that person skyrockets. the possibility of that person not being in your life just increased tenfold. And that's it adds more intention into allowing yourself to be able to make that step and knowing with who you are actually willing to do that with. Sometimes you'll begin to understand that you don't want there to be such chance of the other person disappearing from your life, so you wouldn't be willing to make that step. Plus, that's on the basis of the fact that I don't want to be in a relationship right now. I have too many problems within me and too many understandings to make to be able to get to that stage. So that's a whole nother story. But yes, the strengthening of friendships, births of new friendships, and strengthening of the ones that I already have. Because I didn't have an output of that sexual or loving intimacy with another individual, I had more energy to put love into my platonic friendships and more care into them and appreciation, and be able to show that to my friends and be able to spend time with them. That's a beautiful thing. This year it's a year of many things, but on top of it all, it's a year of friendships for me, of new connections. And I feel like without the decision of going through abstinence, it wouldn't have been the same. It allowed me to understand the worth in a connection and what I identify the worth as. Well, on that note, I will pour in some of my tea. I came prepared. There you go. Right to the rim. Right on the edge. Beautiful. On that note, we're moving on to the second half of my celibacy journey. And that second half determined the next step of actually and more so being celibate. That being that I resorted to all my interactions with women to remain as platonic. I was no longer dating. I was no longer looking to meet women. I was no longer allowing myself to be intimate with women. And yeah, keeping everything platonic. And that's the point at which, like, during the beginning of the second part of my journey is when I actually began to mention to my friends that I am on this journey. Even through the friends I met online. As I said, the ones that stayed platonic, I didn't end up saying that I am celibate. So it's only after this part that I was willing and understood that I have to be talking about it. I want my friends to know. I want it to be mentioned. There's still several friends that don't know about it. But it's about interaction and putting myself forward, my truthful self forward to the people that I care about. I care about them, so I want them to know me. During the year of celibacy, the first couple months, I was indeed actually trying to educate myself on the aspect of perhaps celibacy and semen retention. And one of the ways I did that was by reading this book here, Taoist Secrets of Love, Cultivation of Sexual Energy. And this was an incredible book to read. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was surprised how much I enjoyed it and how much I kept on reading and wanted to learn. And it helped me get into the motion of this journey very effectively. It put me in the mind state of wanting to do it. And because I was educating myself to it, I was more willing and active in the process of my celibacy. Very crucial book. There were times I would reread certain pages. And this book taught the aspect of semen retention as being a crucial form of maintaining energy and nourishing self as a man. And I heavily connected myself to the message that was being taught within that book. and within the act of semen retention. And it's just, semen is life force. There's so many minerals and so much energy that goes into the production of semen. It is there to create life. And to just willingly always let it out, it drains. And I was like reflecting back to my previous 2 relationships where, of course, the lovemaking was in its full bloom. And of course, we're so into it and it's just constant and there's a lot of it. And then eventually I reached the point where I just can't anymore. I wonder why. It's all from the excess release. It's all from the aspect of my life force being drained consistently. No wonder I was feeling horrible or just not able to fulfill by the end of those relationships. And there was periods of just me not wanting to do anything. I heavily connected with that and understood how it has been affecting me and understood the importance of semen retention. And it's all, semen retention is connected to creativity as well. It's understanding how to be able to utilize this in-kept energy for the better use. And that's partly utilizing the energy of semen and the sexual energy, chi, whatever, was the main aspects of those teachings. And to be able to do that, to be able to conserve this energy and transform it, they were teaching breath exercises, some of which I was practicing at several parts of the year. It was in my plans to be practicing that throughout the whole year, but that didn't end up being the case as I struggled with maintaining it on a consistent basis. But I had, I think, like 3 parts throughout the year of several weeks or months where I would be doing the breath work. At several parts, I would actually feel the act of it working, of me like tingling and itching throughout the body as I'm doing the breath work. And I was a sign that all the sexual energy is actually starting to circulate, the channels are opening, and I was literally feeling that, which I found incredible and just furthered my understanding that it is true. But I struggled to be upkeeping that and to be consistently practicing it. One of the main reasons for that is to do with how I, for a couple years now, haven't been into meditating. I had a phase when I discovered meditation and I was like so into it and doing it so often. But recently I've been struggling to allow myself some peace and time period of rest and allowing my mind just to envision my mind. And because of that, I understood that I wasn't in the right state to be doing the breath work, even though it was crucial, even though I knew it was helping. I just couldn't upkeep it, unfortunately, as much as I wanted to. Throughout the year, I had phases of struggles with maintaining and transforming this energy and just being able to withhold this energy in me, because it is withholding. I put a lot of restrictions on myself, and because of that, all this energy kept building up upon me. And there were several phases throughout this year, especially within the second half, where it was overfilling. It was getting too much. And there were months I consider as peaks, where it was the highest and I was losing control and I was allowing myself to dive into lust. Those peaks were around June, around October, and then late November, December times. It was like every 2-3 months, that's when it would hit, and it would be bad, quite bad. And funnily enough, those peaks are always during the periods where I wouldn't be doing the breath work. When I was doing the breath work, it was kind of aiding me. But sometimes where I was doing the breath work and just not allowing it to transform correctly in my body, it would actually make it worse, because you're activating the sexual energy and it's about being able to upkeep it through different channels of your body. But if you're letting it to just activating it and then not being able to direct it, it then ends up spilling out as lust and making me even more lustful. So it's a complex exercise and a complex journey for me, especially because of the problems that I have been experiencing to do with that. I guess there are three actually stages. Well, the two main ones and one sub one, which I count as just the end of my journey, that being the last month or so, 1 month and a half. And it was the peak of the peaks, unfortunately enough. I was hoping to finish the year smoothly and effectively without lust being a considerate factor within what affects me and within my mind, but that didn't seem to be the case. It was stronger than ever. It was more of a struggle than ever. During late November time is when I ended up relapsing in terms of porn. And, well, considering the timings, I am proud to admit it's been a year. It took me a year to end up relapsing, but a year is a good amount. That's the longest I've gone without porn since I discovered porn. And I tried not to shame myself too much on the fact that I did relapse. As I said, I tried to be more proud on the fact that I did last that long, and instead of being constantly shameful to myself for doing that, I instead want to direct that energy into putting more intention of maintaining the porn restriction further on ahead in my life. That will still remain on a consistent basis. And so that happened at the end of November, and it did continue happening on a few occasions in mid-December of this month. And yes, it was a struggle. As I said, it was the peak of the peaks, and it was a struggle. At one point, there was a day where it was very bad. And by the end of the day, I just ended up sitting on the same chair and just sitting in silence and trying to understand for myself what the fuck is going on. Like, what the fuck am I doing? What the fuck is my mind thinking? How am I just constantly allowing myself to fall into desire, the hands of desire? And it has such a hold on me, an incredibly strong hold on me, one of which I will be battling for many more years, I feel like. But considering the progress I've been able to make within this year already, it makes me hopeful. But yes, as I said, I was just sitting on this chair, just pondering, understanding what the hell is happening. And just how am I going to be moving forward? And just what should I be expecting with myself? How can I fix up this removal of search for an outward desire? And I understood that instead of finding something on the exterior, outside, looking for something where I can place my desire on, I understood that I wanted to look inwards, to look at me, and be able to turn that desire inwards. And to be able to turn that desire into just intimacy, rather than lusting for something. And I feel like a practice of building the intimacy within self is the first step towards that. For me, it's one of the later steps, but I understood how I want to practice that intimacy, how I want to show love to myself and my body, how I want to just be able to nourish my mind and my body through this intimacy. It's a learning factor, because I never done that before. I never taken pictures of myself for the sake of myself and just for the sake of my contours and my curves and my aspects of the body, my skin. I never did it for the sake of finding beauty within me. I allowed myself to be the first guy I find sexually attractive. That's basically the basis of the third part of my abstinence journey. It's finding and discovering the love for me rather than other people. And that's something I'm excited on going through and experiencing the journey of next year and for the foreseeable future. One of the crucial aspects to do with discovery of this love is that I'm allowing myself to be more comfortable with my feminine side. I don't know what that means yet, but I know I want to. I will not go too into that because, as I said, I'm still confused. This is a recent discovery that I'm still yet to understand, so I won't get too much into that. But there it is. That's the journey. One of the last things I'll mention is one of the ways I decided to be nourishing my body is by taking more care for it. And since on my celibacy journey I wasn't really seeing anyone, I kind of I allowed myself to just be ungroomed and I kind of tried to find appreciation for hairiness, which I did. I quite enjoyed it actually. I have quite a soft, nice bush, TMI, but I don't care. But upon entrance to the new year and my will to be comfortable with my feminine side, I am more willing to remove the hair, as my mum did yesterday. She waxed me. My armpits are not hairy. My little hairs on the chest are not there. My hairs on the tummy are not there anymore. And I bought a bunch of lotion. This is my collection of all the body lotions that I will be using. And just allowing my body to feel smooth, to feel nice, to be glowing, my skin to be... Yes, I'm really looking forward to that. And on top of that, I will shave this. And I want to see my face with all its contours. Even though I love this, let's see how I look under it. Alright, that was the chat. As I expected, it was the longest one out of the 3. And it's been quite the year. Thank you for being here and being with me throughout this. It helped. Now I've got to understand how to help myself. Goodbye.